Welcome everyone to A Journey of Riches, the fourth book in this series, dealing with life changes. I'm John Spender and I'm with the inspiring author, Charlie O'Shea. He wrote the chapter, The Tattooed Businessman, and he owns 3 coin laundry businesses and he's also involved with network marketing. Great to have you on the call, Charlie O'Shea. You're truly an inspiring man and you've been on one epic journey. Great to be speaking with you today.
Yeah, likewise, John. Thank you. A great introduction.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it really is true. You have, there is just no doubt, once you read Charlie's chapter, you'll get such depth of this man, what he's actually been through, the strength of your character, the breadth of your heart. You know, and there's no accident that you're successful in business. And what I want to ask you is, what led you to be successful in business? What was the life-defining moment that led you to be success in business?
I guess it was probably three and a half years ago. I was actually on my first vacation with my family in Bali.
Yeah.
And we're sitting by the pool and I actually said to the wife, this is fantastic. Yeah, I can do this every year. But unfortunately, I realised, we were both employees at the time, that if one of us lost our job, we would still be fine, but we wouldn't be able to enjoy the extras in life. And throughout my life, I had other little businesses, and I realised this is what we needed to do. Because I didn't want to work until I was 65.
Mm-hmm. So that was your aha moment in Bali. And then how did you choose, so the first business you chose after that aha moment was a coin laundry business?
Yeah, it was a coin laundry. Well, we got back to Melbourne and I hadn't thought about it again. And thank the universe, our actual washing machine blew up because we had so much dirty laundry to wash. You know, 3 children, 5 suitcases. So we went to a coin laundry.
And as soon as you came back from Bali?
Yep, exactly. A day later when we decided to do the washing. And we're just sitting there. And because this coin laundry was a very old laundry and had no TV, no radio, I started just watching people come in and counting how many people were walking through the door, and I started adding up the prices. And I wanted to get into a business that wouldn't take up more than 5 hours of my day. If it took more than 5 hours a day, I wasn't interested. And I looked at my wife, Effie, and once again, another penny dropped. And I said, this is it. I said, we've got to get into some sort of vending, coin laundry, car wash, you know, any sort of business where I just have to go there, collect money, fill up a machine. And yeah, I spent the next probably 2 months constant on YouTube. I actually took about 3 days off work the following week after taking a 2-week holiday just to sit on YouTube and find out everything I could find out about coin laundries.
Wow. So you did your research.
Oh yeah, I've always done my research. It wasn't just that, it was then having to find the money to start the first business because we had no savings. Like I said, we lived a comfortable life, but we lived week to week. So then I got my hands on books on how to borrow equity, how to actually use other people's money. And I probably spent about 3 months just constant reading. Wow. And yeah, with a penny dropped with the actual equity, and I went and saw the bank manager and he told me, yeah, you've got X amount of dollars you can use on your property. So I came home and told the wife and she wasn't too impressed. She was brought up in a Greek European sort of family and their only concern is pay that house off. Work like dogs, pay that house off. And for me to come and say, whatever was paid off, I want to borrow again, wasn't what she wanted to hear. So she had to get over a hurdle that, hang on, I've had 40 odd years of this programming that I have to actually pay off this house. And now you're coming back to me and saying, no, we're going to borrow on it. So I tried to explain the whole good debt, bad debt to her. And yeah, she understood it after a while. Like I said to her at the time, I said, I want to be 65 years of age and look back and say, yeah, even if I've lost everything, we lose the house, we lose everything, I want to be 65 and say I gave it a go. I don't know what I could feel. I don't know how I would live with myself being 65 and wondering what life would be if I had just stepped out of my comfort zone.
That's because that's quite a dramatic change, going from a set wage each week, guaranteed pay, to getting a loan, basically putting the house on the line, and starting a business that you've never been in before. You did some research. What were some of the challenges that you had to overcome making this change?
It was actually quite easy for me. I think it was actually harder for my wife.
Okay.
And to give her a lot of credit for where she's come from that conversation. Because you can't just take 40 years of programming and expect to switch it off just because your husband says this is what we should be doing. But at the end of the day, she put faith in me, and I thank her for that.
That's awesome. And so that was the first one. Now you've just secured the deal for the third one?
Yeah,
is that right?
Signed the lease for our third one.
Wow.
That's the one in Melbourne, but we're also looking at putting our first one in Bali by the end of the year.
Fantastic.
And I'm also in conversation at the moment with the coffee club because we want to put our first cafe in Bali as well.
Great.
So yeah, there's other things in process.
Awesome. Yeah. And you also do a network marketing as well.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Well, I got involved in the network marketing scene because I've done a lot of reading over the last 5 years, a lot of self-help. And one pattern that I found with all authors, regardless of where they're from, they've all spoken about network marketing.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, well, look, all these great millionaires, multimillionaires, billionaires praise it. Before then, it was not something I would have looked at. To me, it was my whole conception of network marketing before that was when I was about 10 in my army doing Avon.
Right, okay.
That wasn't for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't see myself as an Avon lady.
Right, no, not at all.
But no, we actually found a company that we fell in love with and the product. Yeah. And yeah, it's been just a growth through it.
Yeah, awesome.
I've got more out of the personal growth than I have the business because I've always been business minded. Yeah. But it's taught me things within myself that I never knew before. Like, for example, acceptance. Like, I've never been a racist person. I've never been a narrow-minded person. But there's a lot of cultures that I've never mingled with, only because there's no reason to mingle with them. I wouldn't say that I was racist or narrow-minded, but I just never had anything to do with these people, cultures, religions. But through network marketing, I have met so many different people, and my eyes have been opened to so many different cultures where 5 years ago I would have looked at this culture or that culture and thought, oh, yeah, it's a bit weird. Right. Only because I never understood it. And I might have even prejudged it by what someone else has said. Yeah. But through marketing, and it's just, you meet people and it's like, wow, okay, you're all human. You've got your beliefs, you've got your visions, but at the end of the day, in my eyes, we all bleed red. Yeah. Yeah, it's many languages, but one people. It's so true. You don't realise that until you put yourself in that situation where you can actually mingle with people. You know, there's a lot of cultures. I've got a lot of friends now throughout South Africa, Asia, the States. And just the things you learn is just unbelievable. Like I've said to a lot of people that are under me in my team. If you took the actual business side of the network marketing away and you took the product away, I would still be happy being a member just for the fellowship. The people you meet, international family. Well, it's a global family. It's a beautiful thing. And the thing is, I found once I got into business, I lost a lot of friends and family. You had a very colourful life growing up. Oh, very colourful. But I found that I was losing a lot of people that I'd always known because I was actually getting to a point in my life where my mindset was a lot higher in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of family and friends didn't like it, couldn't accept that me and my family were moving on.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, the haters and the naysayers. You know, I had a cousin actually telling me, I don't like the person you've become.
Wow.
Like, why? Because I'm actually supplying for my family. Because I'm now building wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what, do you want me to drop everything I've done in the last 3 years, go back and get a truck job, just so you can feel comfortable with me?
Good response.
And I found through business, I was actually becoming a very lonely person. And that's why once I joined the network marketing organization, I just couldn't believe that there were so many like-minded people.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just dumbfounded. I thought at a point, if this continues, this trend, I'm going to be a very wealthy, lonely person.
Okay.
People that I grew up with or family weren't as close to me as they used to be. And it wasn't because of anything me or my wife or family did. It was their prejudgment of us.
Okay.
And yeah, network marketing has given us a family we've never had.
Mm. And in the chapter, I was just going to say, Charlie, I mean, that's fantastic. And, you know, it sounds like you had to go through some dramatic changes, and imagine that'd be quite emotional. And in your chapter, you talk about finding forgiveness because you had quite an interesting childhood, challenging, a lot of people would say. Maybe that's an understatement.
So I don't really see it as anything special,
Okay.
but yeah,
Okay.
I speak to people about it and they're like, wow.
And so, how has forgiveness played a part in your life growing up and the different phases that you've gone through?
Well, I really didn't understand forgiveness until I probably met my wife, Effie, and stepped away from that lifestyle that I lived all my life. Because in that lifestyle, it was very hard to have forgiveness. You know, especially when you're kicking down people's doors to collect money.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I guess I wasn't a very forgiving person at that time in my life. I was a very angry person. Yeah, that's a part of my life that's had nothing to do with forgiveness. And that's what I mean in the last 15 years. I've learned to forgive, and I've learned that I can only truly forgive anybody once I've learned to forgive myself. And that's the thing. And not just forgive the people that have wronged me throughout my life, but to also be able to, for me to say to myself, I forgive them for what they have done to me. Because at first I would forgive, I would say, yeah, okay, it's in my past, I forgive them, it's all over. But there was still that anger there because I hadn't forgiven myself for allowing certain things in my life that have happened. So, you know, once you get to a point where you can learn to forgive yourself, you can actually pass the forgiveness on. And once again, with network marketing, I also realized that forgiveness is also acceptance. You know, if you can't accept people, how can you truly forgive them? So I've learned so much through the marketing side of things, but once I've learned to accept, I've learned how to forgive myself, I can easily forgive others.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. And you spoke about in your chapter the journey with mending the relationship with your father. And I believe now that he is living with you and your family.
Yeah, me and my father really never got along. There was me and my younger brother, he's been passed on now for almost 22 years. I was the eldest by 3 years, and my brother was, I think it was 4 months premature back in 76. And my mother already had 3 miscarriages, and she ended up having 5 or 6 stillbirths after that. So the doctor's advice to my father was, go and spend whatever time you got with your son, because we can't see him survive in the night. Now, he was in intensive care for about 9 months. I don't remember any of this. I was only 3. But growing up, even though I was the son and my father always did things with me, my brother was the favourite. I was the one that used to come along because I was just the son. Like I remember once I went away on a school camp in grade 3, my brother did something wrong. And instead of disciplining my brother, he waited until I got back from camp, belted the crap out of me, and said my brother wouldn't know what he did unless I showed him. And that was my childhood. My brother couldn't do anything wrong.
Okay. So your brother did something wrong and you got punished for it?
Yeah, every time.
Wow.
Even later on in life, when I was dealing with a lot of the actual abuse that went on when I was a child, I had a couple of incidents where I overbubbled, and I remember one time I actually said to him, I said, you know what, yeah, you must have known something was wrong. Because I've got children and I'm pretty sure if something had happened to them, they would come to me because they were raised differently than what I was raised. But surely you would know that your child's not right. I said, you know, even Stephen, my brother, at this stage he'd already passed on. I said, even Stephen was abused by some of these people. And instead of, you know, talking about it, his first response was, yeah, well, you probably introduced him to it.
Wow.
And I think that was the second time I almost killed my father. My mother had to break a chair over me to get me off him.
Wow.
So me and my father weren't close at all. Even when I went to prison, when the police handcuffed me and they were actually walking me out of the house, he just looked at me and goes, what I expect. And then the officer looked at me, he goes, is that your dad?
Wow.
And the actual officer had pity on me because of what my father actually, his whole body language was like. So yeah, me and my father were never close.
And then you mended the relationship. So what inspired you to mend the relationship?
After I got out of prison, because of my childhood and my lifestyle, I decided to move interstate to get away from everybody, everything I knew. It was the only way for me to be able to move on. That I had to just break away. Moved to new friends, new everything. But I actually came back about a year and a half later to spend some time with my mother and father, mainly my mother. But unfortunately, when I was here for about 3 weeks. My mother passed away. But a week before she passed away, and the funny thing is, there's actually 20 years between my mother and father. So in the back of my mind, I always knew that when Dad went, because he was 20 years older, so basic math told me that, well, he's going to die first. I always knew my mother would live with me. I always knew I'd look after my mother. But a week before she passed on, she actually looked at me, she goes, promise me one thing. And with me, if I actually give you my word, if I promise you, I would go through hell to keep that promise. And she knew this. My wife knows this. And she goes, promise me you look after your father if anything should happen to me. Because she knew that I wouldn't. I had no qualms just turning away and walking away. And I looked at her and she's looked at me because she knew that unless I promised, I would just leave. And I did the math in my head and I thought, well, shit, our Dad's 20 years bloody older than you. Yeah, he's going to die. Yeah, no problem. I'll put money on it. So I said to her, I said, look, if anything should happen to you, which, you know, you're only 50, what's going to happen? Yeah, I'll look after him. Yeah, she died 2 weeks later of a heart attack.
Wow.
2 weeks later, yeah. Took my daughter to an actual a Pizza Hut at the time. And I said to Mum, I said, would you like to come with us and have lunch? And she goes, oh, no, I'm a bit tired. I'm going to have a sleep. We'll do dinner or something. My daughter was about 9 at the time. Adored my mother. So we went to pizza, and when we got back, because I wasn't driving at that time, we're walking from the train station, and the street my parents lived in was very long, so you could see it from miles. And I realised there was about 4 or 5 police cars out the front of my house. which wasn't unusual. And I said to my daughter, I said, look, the police are at our house. I can see them. I said, when we go there, they're going to put me in handcuffs. I don't want you to cry. I want you to be strong because you know I don't care. So, yeah, I built her up and all that. Yeah. Had all this, got myself revved up because if you're going to handcuff me, I'm going to make it worth your while.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've lost count of the times I've been capsicum sprayed.
Wow. Okay.
It's not pleasant. But so we got back to my house and I was all revved up to get into a fight.
Wow.
And, we walked in and a police officer came up to me and he goes, Charlie, we have some bad news for you. And I paused for a split second and I thought of that and I thought, in all the times I've been arrested, a police officer's never actually said to me beforehand, we've got some bad news for you. You've been arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at him and he goes, your mother's passed on. And my fist just went through the wall 2 or 3 times. And he's asking me to calm down. And my little ones just looked up at him and she goes, mind you, she's only 9. She goes, no, you're lucky. That was for you.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was an experience. But, yeah, I stuck to my word. It was hard at first. Because I had no respect for my father.
Mm-hmm.
As far as people say to me, what nationality are you? Because my father's Maltese, I'd say, I'm Australian. They go, no, your father's Maltese. I said, yeah, but my mother carried me for 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
My mother gave birth to me. My mother raised me.
Mm-hmm.
My father was never there. And I often said this to my mother when I was a child. I said, because she used to say, Dad loves you. And she always used to try to make it easier for me because she saw what I was going through. I said, it would be better if he wasn't here. Seriously. I've got friends with our fathers. And to tell you the truth, I would rather that he wasn't here. I would rather that he had just walked out and left us. Because to me, there was nothing worse than having a father that just ignored you. It practically just ignored you.
Wow. So how's the relationship now, Charlie?
Well, that's the thing. Look, my mother died at 52 years of age. And at first it was hard. My dad tried to I said to Dad, I'll move in with you. Because unfortunately, my parents were both on pensions.
Mm-hmm.
You have 2 people on a pension, you can survive just. One fortnight would go to the rent and the bills, and the next fortnight would go to your food and whatever else you needed. You couldn't do that on one pension. So, like I said, if I didn't promise my mother, I would have just walked away. I had no problem with that. I moved in. I said, look, you're not going to do that. You're not going to be able to survive financially. I said, I promised Mum that I'll look after you. And his macho attitude was, I don't need your help and blah, blah. I said, well, I don't personally care what you think. I'm not doing this. As long as you understand this isn't for you. My mother. And it was hard because he would always try to be the father. And one day I lost it and I said, listen, I gave my word to Mum. It's been 3 months. But I'm going to tell you now, if you don't stop with this bullshit that you're my father, yeah, I'm in my late 20s. I don't need you to tell me what I should be doing with my life. You were there when I needed you. So don't try to enforce that into me now. If we can't learn to be friends and live together, I've kept my word with Mum. The next move is yours. So, yeah, he learned to shut up. And in a way, I'm glad my mother passed on first. Because in the last 12 years, 15 or 13 years, I have formed a bond with my father that I never thought was possible.
Wow.
He's 3 now. He lives in a granny flat in the back. And, yeah, I never knew him until my mother died.
Wow.
And I look back on life, and even though he ignored the crap out of me, he could have left at any stage because my mother was a manic depressant. She was always in and out of hospital, suicide attempts, raising 2 boys. Well, technically I raised my brother. My dad went to work, and that's what upset me at this time because I actually thought I was doing everything. But as an adult looking back, I realised he was working 2 jobs. The pay them because this is before the days of Medicare. So he had to pay medical bills. He had to pay rent. He had to pay bills. As a child, I didn't see that. All I wanted to see was the affection my brother got, the affection that I craved. But I never saw the behind scenes. Most men would have just walked out. Like he put us into a private foster care back in the late 70s when I was only very young. That cost him 2,000 Australian dollars a month, which is a lot of money back then. But he actually took on a third job. So we wouldn't end up in any sort of governmental care. But I can tell you now, if my brother wasn't involved in that, I don't think it would have happened.
Well, interesting story, and it's inspiring that you've patched up the relationship. He now lives with you. I imagine he has a good relationship. How old is he?
He's 82, 83 now.
83.
Yeah, and the sad thing is, I look at him with my children, and I've actually often said this to him. It's like, God, if you were 5% of the father that you are a grandfather, you would have been a great father.
Well, and I guess from his perspective, it's never too late to give that. He failed at giving that to you, but it sounds like he succeeded giving that to your children, right?
That's it. Look, I am thankful that he's been able to do that with the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said to him, there's always a place here for him. He doesn't pay bills. He doesn't pay rent. I practically support him in his office. But
it's
like I said,
fantastic.
I want a place here for him. Until the day comes where mentally he can't look after himself, I won't be able to look after him. But like I said to him, if you get to that point where your mind starts to go, you're not going to know where you are anyway. But until that day, there's a place here for you. The problem is he's getting healthier as he gets older.
He's getting which, sorry?
He's getting healthier.
Okay, he's getting healthier.
I don't understand it. It's
okay. Right, okay. He's getting healthier. And really for the challenges that you went through, Charlie, growing up, and the issues with your father and the brother and the journey that it led you on, I mean, you probably wouldn't be the man today if you didn't go through that. And so
I wouldn't change anything in my life. I've had people say to me, oh, would you have changed that, or would you have changed that? That would have been pretty hard to go through at that age. And I've learned, no, there's not a damn thing in my life that I would change. Because even if I changed one thing, that could affect who I am today. I might not have my wife. I might not have my children. Just because of that one thing. Yeah, people say, oh, yeah, you had it so hard at school. I remember in grade 5. Grade 5 or grade 4, or one of the grades, a teacher got me up in front of the class, about 30, 35 children, and she goes, Charlie, in all my 32 or 33 years of teaching, you are the dumbest student I have ever had. I still to this day, I don't understand why she doesn't understand why I threw a table at her. So, and then when I got down to the office, I was trying to explain that to him. The principal couldn't understand why I threw a table at her. So then I threw a chair through the reception window. So, to me, if somebody called my child dumb, it wouldn't be so pretty. You
want the teacher to be uplifting, to encourage the students, to actually support them to be all they can be, right? And you didn't get that.
If you went through school in the same era I did, and teachers are different today than what they were 30 years ago. Yeah. And I guess they're even, the further you go back, for example, my grandparents weren't actually married. And back in the 50s and early 60s in Australia, your parents weren't married, you were considered a bastard. And my mother used to tell me stories that the teachers were allowed to call them bastards.
Wow.
Technically, your parents aren't married. Your mother is actually divorced from her first marriage and got 2 other kids. And back in the 50s,
that wasn't good. That was frowned upon.
Yeah,
things have changed. The world's changing dramatically. The world's becoming so much smaller. So.
Like, teacher can't even look at a student the wrong way today.
Mm.
Because the student will get an order against the teacher. The teacher has more chance of losing their job today because a student doesn't like them than any time in history. Like I had a teacher embarrass me in front of 35 students, and that was accepted.
And I guess that's one of the reasons that you found yourself hanging with the wrong crowd back then. So what advice would you give to people that find themselves rolling with the wrong crowd? They know that they're heading in a direction that's not the best for them, and that what advice would you give to them?
It's hard to give advice because seriously, well, this is my view. What is the wrong crowd? Your interpretation of a wrong crowd might be different to mine.
Yeah, true.
For example, in the drug world, when I was actually a drug dealer, I met a lot of different people. And if you've got a group of drug addicts that live that lifestyle, they don't think they're the wrong crowd. They don't think there's anything wrong with what they're doing. They've decided that's the lifestyle they want. So society says they might be the wrong crowd. Society might look at criminals and say, oh, that's the wrong crowd. But I've learned that there's really no such thing as a wrong crowd. It's a lifestyle. You choose what lifestyle you want to be in. Like for my children know that every decision you make today can come back tomorrow and bite you on the ass. So be 110% sure what you do today, you're comfortable with. Because if it does come back and bite you on the ass, you have no one to blame but yourself. My children have got free will. There's certain friends that my 17-year-old son might have that, I personally don't like. And that's not the wrong crowd. It's just that I don't like these personalities. Personalities will clash. But like I said to my son, be careful the choices you make today because they will come back. For example, when I was a drug dealer and I lived that lifestyle, I knew there was a chance that I could end up dead or in prison. When I did end up in prison, which was a good time actually, because it was when the whole Melbourne gang law was going on, that's one of the reasons I'm still alive, because I was in prison. But I knew that there were the two outcomes in that lifestyle. Prison or death. Now, when I went to prison, I didn't sit there and bitch and complain and groan that this is not fair, I'm in prison. I knew the lifestyle I was living really had no other path apart from death. And I'm glad that didn't happen because that would have just destroyed my mother because my brother committed suicide probably 20 years ago. He was just turned 21. And that destroyed her. She was never the same after that. Well, she was not normal before that, but that just made everything worse. So if I had died in the drug trade, I think that just would have 2 sons, 2 deaths. You have to go through that. But like I said, I don't think there is a bad. I think everybody has a personal choice. And no matter where you live or what your upbringing is, you can't say you don't have a choice. For fuck's sake, look, I've got a grade 5 education. I enjoyed it so much I did it twice. But that was my last pass. I went to school from grade 6 to year 9, but high school, in 3 years, I went to 22 high schools.
22 high schools?
Try to tell me what sort of education I would have gotten there.
Right, okay.
So grade 5 was my actual education stop sign. After that, it was more gangs, it was more hanging. The shortest school I ever went to was Preston Tech. I think that was just under an hour. Went to the school, had the interview. The principal was about to introduce me. He said something to offend me. I smacked him in the face. I got expelled. So I didn't even leave the principal's office. I think that was the school I went to.
Wow. Okay. So now, that was a long time ago. I mean, you made the change and transition. You're a business owner. You're a family man. You have 3 businesses. 2 businesses. You got three shops in the one business.
Yep.
What is it that led you to that choice? Because that's a dramatic change from drug dealer to business into the business world. You know, point operator laundry. And...
Look back on it, if it's not that different.
Okay.
Because, like, when my mother was alive, she used to say to me, if you put 5% of what you do into drugs into a legitimate business, you'll be fucking so successful. And I used to look at her and think, yeah, whatever, Mum. Mum always tried to make me feel better. Even when I was a child, my brother would get all the attention. She'd always say something to... And over the years, I just took it on as she's just trying to make me feel better for what Dad's not giving me.
Right.
I used to say, yeah, whatever, Mum, yeah. And she's got a point, because now that I am a businessman, I look back and there's not much difference. You put together your product and you put it out to the market.
Okay, you put it together, put it out to the market. Fantastic.
That's what it is. One's illegal, one's not. And I reckon if the government could tax the drug trade, I think they would rather tax it than annihilate it.
Right, okay.
So
there's no...
At a young age. So even when I was in primary school, I used to have scams going on, making me money. And that's the thing. But not until I was older and I look back on my life, I'm thinking, I've done all this. Like putting together your weekend trade from the drug world and putting together your business, there's not much difference. You're putting a product out there that customers want. Yeah, and like Jim Rohn says, the quickest way to wealth is to get a product that everybody needs. And my mentality is washing clothes. Everyone needs to wash their clothes. That's why I decided to go with the washing clothes rather than washing cars. Because if the government has to clamp up and people clamp up, all these people with their nice cars won't be able to afford their $20, $40, $50 a week to wash their car. Like I said to the wife, if I do go into car washes, they'll be car washes / laundries. Okay,
that's a good combination. So I just wanted to, it's been great chatting with you, Charlie O'Shea. You have an excellent take on life. It's a unique perspective, and I know we can just learn from each other from different perspectives. And I just wanted to ask this question just before we wrap up the interview, is why should people read your chapter and what will they take away from it?
Wow. Okay. I don't know what people will actually take away from it. I just want people to actually understand that you can do anything you put your mind to, regardless of where you come from. You know, I've got people that are my age that constantly bitch about where their lives are. I don't have the job I want. I don't have the money I want. But they do nothing to actually move forward. Now, if you just put your head down, your ass up, and study, it's all about self-improvement. If you learn to make yourself a better person, that'll just come through in everything you do. In your family, in your business, in your networking. You know, networking is, the network marketing side is one thing, but life in general is generally networking. So even if you never join a network marketing company, you're still networking. You're still putting yourself out there. So you have to better yourself. If you want a promotion, well, then study up on that promotion. See what you need to do. If you want to get into business, read books on business. Now, I read something the other day that really stunned me, that they reckon, what was it? The average person reads one book a year, and half of those are romance novels. Seriously, how sad is that?
Wow.
One book a year, and half of those are romance novels. And then they wonder why their lives are where their lives are. If you're wanting to move forward, you have to improve yourself. And if somebody from my background, my poverty, my upbringing can go from what I've gone from to what I've become, And the thing is, people say, when am I going to be happy? And people take this as arrogance, but I don't. I take it as pride. That's who I am. I'll be happy when I'm actually personally known in most countries around the world. Like, for example, me and the wife were at a restaurant the other week, and I've actually put myself out there on my Facebook and really pushed who I am. And we're at a restaurant, a Chinese restaurant. And we caught up with some friends we haven't seen in a couple of years. It was really nice. But all of a sudden, this gentleman's come over and he goes, are you Charlie? Are you the Teddy Millionaire? I said, yeah. Oh, I read your post on Facebook. They are so inspiring. They always get me going. I thought, great. If I've helped you, I'm happy. The other day I was at a shop in my local area and I had this guy my age looking at me. And there's still times when people are staring at me a certain way, I'm thinking, and the old me will actually sort of just be prepared. Because I really don't know where this person, I don't recognise them. So he's come up, he goes, oh man, I'm really sorry for staring, but are you the Teddy Millionaire? He goes, yeah, my mate's got you on his Facebook. He keeps telling me to read the post. And it's like, wow. Now, I'm not trying to push myself onto people. I'm just putting my message out there. And it seems to be working.
That's fantastic.
And if it helps, I've learned that's helped 2 people, make them feel better. Well, yeah. I'm happy.
Yeah. That's one of the quickest ways to happiness is to actually make someone else feel happy. Yeah, a little bit of that happiness rubs on to us. Yeah.
After years of actually hurting people and making people feel bad, I actually feel the opposite to that. Like I used to feel good when in my trade because I was really good at what I did. And I knew people feared me. And it gave me a rush. Like, oh yeah, tough. But it's nothing compared to someone come up to you in the street and go, oh, I read your post, man. I was feeling so bad that day and that post just lifted me up. And you compare the 2 feelings and the old feeling doesn't even compare. To actually know that someone feels good because they feel good, not because you feel good because you've just hurt someone. It's an amazing transformation within myself to be able to feel that. And the kids love it because then I come home and I'm all, and they're like, what happened? You look so happy. Well, I was walking down the street and someone recognised me. And it's nice to be recognised for the right reasons. Yeah. You know, I still hear police cars coming down the street and I still look over my shoulder. Okay. Because, you know, it got so bad at one stage. Like, I've even changed my surname because I got sick of being handcuffed every time I was pulled over. I'd get pulled over. They're really nice, licensed. They'll get out of their car, do their check, come back, get out of the car, put your hands behind your back, get the dog squad down, they'll search the car, strip it apart, regardless if I've got people with me or my children. And I said, I can't do this anymore. It's okay when I was living that lifestyle, but I want to change. I moved away. I came back. I don't need this.
So that was a necessary change that you had to make, changing your surname.
Also for me, because
your family.
I never had a connection with that name anyway.
Okay.
Because of the upbringing with my father, even though we now get along and whatever, I never had a connection to that name. To me, it was more of a burden than anything. It was more of a bad memory, which I didn't realise at the time of changing my name. But I realised years later, I look back and I think I got more out of changing that name than just a clean slate with the police. Like every time I used to say the old name, it used to bring back memories that I didn't even realise would pop up. But they were just connected to that name. And it was just been one big change.
And it was time for you to move on and make that change.
But I didn't realise changing the name was going to have such a big effect. I didn't realise that just a name could have so much negativity connected to it. Regardless of the way I was wanting to change my life, it still had the negativity connected to it.
Mm. Well, you're inspiring, man, what you've been able to do, Charlie O'Shea. It was incredible chatting with you. We could talk for another hour easily because you have so many stories to share. But people have to read your chapter. So the book will be launching mid-April, and super exciting to get your message, inspiring message out there. Just before we wrap up, would you mind showing us your tattoo on the top of your head?
The thing is, I keep forgetting it's there.
Okay, right.
People will be staring at me, and it's like, oh yeah, that's like just staring at my head. Yeah,
right, okay. Oh, that's awesome. Just a little bit higher. Yeah, there you go. So that's the Om symbol.
That is the Om symbol.
Wow, that's an awesome tattoo, my friend. That's an amazing tattoo. The Om symbol.
Like I said, I keep forgetting it's up there.
Right, okay.
And like I said, it's only 8 hours of work there, so it's not too bad.
Right, okay. Well, yeah, you like tattoos, and that's the person that I mean, you like that sort of thing. And I think that one of the key things that I got away from speaking with you today was that there is no wrong crowd. There's just different personalities. And some personalities will clash with, and maybe they're the personalities that we need to learn from the most. And so I found speaking with you very insightful. You're a man of many wisdom. You simplify things, so it's easy to understand. And I can see you just doing bigger and better things. With your coin laundry businesses here in Bali, if it's a coffee shop or whatever it is, whatever you put your mind to, and everyone else close around you know you're going to be successful. And now I'm excited to catch up when you come over to Bali, and we'll catch up. And
we will.
I'm looking forward to it.
Have a Guinness with me, even though you don't drink.
That's right. I'll have a papaya juice.
Oh well, at least we're having a drink. That's the main thing.
Great chatting with you, Charlie O'Shea.
Thank you, my friend. You have a great day.